Good morning, welcome back to Morning Live. We now take a look at your sport news in this hour. Now, the FIFA Women's World Cup continues to be the beacon of light for women's football, as reputations and world rankings have been all but thrown out the door, and we've seen some courageous performances by those less fortunate. The second semi-final takes place today, where the co-host in Australia will take on the European champions in England. And locally, the calls for professionalization of women's football have just grown louder and louder. To talk to us about this, we've roped in Banyana, midfielder fresh from the FIFA Women's World Cup, Kholosa, Biyana, as well as Sundowns ladies striker Lelona Dewati. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us. Good morning.
Kholosa, let me start with you. Firstly, just how was your experience out at the World Cup, and how has it been for you being back home?
No, it was great. I enjoyed myself, and I think also my teammates enjoyed it too. After the past World Cup, I think we did very well. It's been very difficult for me coming back home. The time difference, it's been very challenging, but I will get used to it. I give myself I think 2 more days and I'll be good to go.
It's a sign that you guys should have been there for much longer, right?
I believe so too.
And just overall, tell me, how was just the spirit in the camp? Because I think what we got to saw as a nation was just such a unified Banyana team, from you guys before leaving South Africa with that whole Botswana encounter, and we saw you guys just fighting on the field of play. How was it amongst you guys in the team, despite also all the talks of this player should start ahead of this one and all of that?
I think we're very united. We've been a family, I think, since the past AFCON. We've been a family, we've been friends. It's been great to be around each other. I think when we moved to Australia, we forgot about things that happened in South Africa, because before we left, we had sorted out everything. And as a team, we had one goal, which was just to go into the round of 16.
All right, Lelona, let's bring you into the discussion. You unfortunately did miss out on the call-out this time around, but you've worn the colours of the South African national team. Watching from home, what did you think of the team's performance and just what we were able to achieve?
Well, we watched good football. Banyana did their best. They did everything in their power to qualify for the round of 16. You saw the unity in the team, you saw the team spirit, and how hungry the girls were to be in the round of 16.
Indeed, and let's talk more about what was happening outside of the field of play, because we had a lot of talks coming from different nations saying, oh my goodness, is this South African team coming from a country where they don't have a professional women's league? Now, you play for Mamelodi Sundowns ladies. Obviously, your story is a bit different from a player that plays for a Coal City Wizards, for a Richmond United. How important do you think it is that we actually start professionalizing women's football, because then we can obviously compete at a much higher level?
Well, we displayed good football at the World Cup. You can see women's football here in South Africa is growing little by bit, but we need more structure and everything. I can't speak for other teams, but yes, we are still working towards that, but we'll get there eventually. But not already Banyana is showing us positive energy and how we can display football and how we can compete in the European teams, even if we're here in Africa and we don't have all the resources that we can use as much as they have it.
Now, let's talk about you now again, Kholosa. You've gone from Engcobo to Madrid. Just like talk about some of the difficulties and some of the challenges that you play. We know now that you play for UWC out in Cape Town, but talk us through some of the difficulties that you've had to face throughout your career and how you've managed to just overcome some of those challenges.
I think the most unfortunate part about being born in the Eastern Cape is that you don't have resources. So you have to try your best. I think for me, one thing that worked for me was moving out of the province and moving to KZN, where I think there it was better, and I think university sports made it a bit easier for me, even though we had the Sasol League in the Eastern Cape, but it was very difficult because also teams are so scattered around. But I think for me, the most important thing going forward is resources, equal resources for all provinces, and I think we'll be doing better going forward.
And for you, Lelona, we speak about you, Mamelodi Sundowns. I mean, you're one player that doesn't struggle to find the back of the net. How tough is that competition within that Mamelodi Sundowns setup? Because, I mean, we've seen with the men's team buying wherever they can. We don't know who Sundowns has eyed now from this World Cup performance, but just talk to us about just the level of competition and you guys having to constantly fight for your positions, because you don't only want to compete in the Hollywood Bet Super League. Sundowns also wants to compete in the continent.
Well, truly speaking, it's not even easy for making the first 11 in the team. You have quality players that you're playing against. You're playing against Bomelinda, Boandisi, Bomishe. Now you have a new player, Tolagele, just from Botswana. We're competing for the first 11. We're competing to play out of Europe. We're playing to win CAF. We're playing to win COSAFA. Playing to win for the league. But yeah, man, it's not easy for playing for Sundowns, but yeah, we're pushing, man. Here's a select and
we'll get deeper into that because, of course, we know that for the first time this season, we've seen a UWC side just breathing heavy down the Mamelodi Sundowns necks. And it hasn't been the typical season where Mamelodi Sundowns has just opened a massive gap at the top of the log. UWC is saying, we are bringing the students, we are bringing the resources, we are bringing the colossus of this world. And Coach Tina Songembuli, as well as the troops, saying we really want to challenge Coach Jerry Shabalala Nabadal Baike this time around. Now we're going to take a little bit of a pause in our interview, and then we're going to give you headlines, and then we're going to come back to this interview with Kholosa as well as Lelona. But still to come on the show as well this morning, our basic education system, is it acceptable? Sakina will be in conversation and discussing this with the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill with Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg, Professor Mary Metcalf. Now do stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You are still watching Morning Live. Now we are bringing you a football interview. We're joined in studio by Lelona Dewati, who plays for Mamelodi Sundowns ladies, as well as Kholosa Biyana, who plays for UWC. And of course, we saw her representing South Africa out at the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. Now let's get now into what we've seen currently happening with this World Cup. And Lelona, I'll start with you. I'm not sure if you watched the semi-final game yesterday.
No.
You didn't watch the semi-final. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, Spain won against Sweden. South Africans were happy because we know we could have won against Sweden in that opening game.
Yeah.
But with the results you've seen so far, what do you make of it? Because I think a lot of people were surprised by the likes of your Germany not doing as well as we expected. The USA being out of the competition. They were, of course, knocked out by Sweden. And just those powerhouses not having the type of performances we expected.
Well, what my coach always says is, we're playing with the round thing. This is soccer ball, so you can't predict football. This World Cup is very different from what we watched the previous World Cup. Now teams have grown, players have grown, mentality has changed, a lot of things have changed. Now you're seeing different teams qualifying for the World Cup. What does that tell you? Women's football is growing. It's not going to be the same teams dominating the whole time. As you can see us in our Hollywood beds, we've been dominating, but look at us where we're at now this season.
You guys are breathing heavy this season.
You understand?
Breathing very heavy.
Football, you can't predict it though. You can't. But from what we're watching, we're still enjoying football and just displaying good football as ladies, and we're just showcasing our talent.
Who's been your standout player of this World Cup from what you've watched?
Truly speaking, it's James, but now since she's out, yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe if they make it to the final, then we'll see her come back in.
Yeah.
All right, Kholosa, for you, let's talk about the semi-final today. Australia up against England with one of your favorite players who will not be in that game because of that red card. What do you see happening in that clash?
I think it's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be interesting because I think the Australian coach has been to 2 finals. He's won both finals. The Netherlands coach lost it to the finals. So England wants to do better than they did in the past World Cup. Australia definitely want to keep breaking the records, and they're the host nation. They want to be in the final. So it's going to be an interesting match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Who's your money on?
England, I believe, but it's going to be very tough.
Yeah, England.
Also England.
But
your favorite player in this tournament?
I think Aitana Bonmati she plays for
From Spain,
so
yeah.
she's been superb and I think she's been on form. Yeah.
Okay, a Spanish here, an English one here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we were, of course, joined by Lelona Dewati, Mamelodi Sundowns, a striker, as well as Kholosa, Biyana, UWC, as well as Banyana, midfielder, talking all things football. Ladies, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing what you're going to do this season. We look forward to the competition between UWC as well as Sundowns this season. That's how we wrap up your sport news in this hour. Now, before we go to a break, we are asking a question. Is our basic education system acceptable? Now, Sakina will discuss the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill with Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg, Professor Mary Metcalf. You can look forward to that and all of your favorites still to come right here on Morning Live after this break.